It's 98.1 Lagos, Nigeria world. Here we are. It is freshly pressed to start off your week in the right way. I'm Sope Martins on Smooth Breakfast, and for the next half hour, I have got two gentlemen in with me. In the studio, I have got Mr. C. Good morning.
Good morning, Sope. Good morning, ladies.
Oh, wrong one. Sorry. There we go. Loud and clear.
Good morning, Sope. Good morning. Yes.
And as for Cheta, he's coming in via, well, other means, technology. It never lets you down. Sometimes it does. Hi, Cheta. How you doing? Hello, Cheta. All right, he's disappeared for the time being, but we'll find him again, I'm sure. All right, and I've got you as well. Do make sure you join us, join this conversation, take things over to Twitter. You can use the hashtag freshlypressed981 up on that platform. Get your thoughts into the right place on Twitter. Send WhatsApp messages into 0809 440 981. You can also take things over to the live stream up on youtube.com/smooth981 FM Lagos. Join us there and leave your comments in the live chat so that we can get you into the get you into the conversational mix. All right, so I'm going to be starting things off with this article that comes in from the Daily Post. Headline reads, 2023 presidency fears heighten over thuggery and violence. Now, all of this, by the way, despite the peace accords that were signed by the presidential candidates of all political parties on the 29th of September in a bid to commit themselves to a peaceful campaign to the February elections. But as we have seen from state to state, peace has not yet reigned across the whole of Nigeria when it comes to these campaigns. All right, so Cheta, I'll be asking you for your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Although there's not much to be happy about this morning, I spent so much time in the 4Q, so I'm actually very angry. Anyway, see, what people need to understand, I think the key thing to point out here is that thuggery is a means of electoral malpractice. Basically, areas that you think that you are not strong, you send your thugs there so that they will depress turnouts and as a result, decrease your opponent's votes. In that respect, by the time you look at it in that respect, it's actually very logical. It's a logical strategy for the political class to pursue, and it's clear that people are down on that. We've been tracking quite a number of attacks, and note that in the last electoral cycle, at the very least 626 people that we can confirm were killed because of elections. So the advice that I'll give, this is not an exercise in rubbing our hands and throwing it up and giving up and saying, oh, there's not much we can do. The advice I will give to people, organize yourselves to protect your votes. At least, according to INEC, there are 93 million registered voters, 93.5 million. We don't have 93.5 million thugs in this country. We don't have 9.35 million thugs in this country, which is 10% of 93.5 million. So it's actually an indictment on us as a people if we keep allowing less than 1% of the population to basically dictate what we will do while the rest of us cower in fear. No, gather together. Seek out people in your polling units, organize yourselves, make sure that they don't come. There's no way they can come once you are together. Remember the analogy of the broom. Once you are together, there's nothing that they can do. The only time they can do something is when you are divided. United we stand, divided we fall. Thank you.
All right, Mr. C, let me come to you for this next one. This particular article comes in from the Punch newspaper. Federal government extends resumption date for Abuja-Kaduna rail services. So we heard from the Minister of Transportation, Nwanze Sambo, who disclosed this to newsmen in Kaduna while they were on an inspection tour to assess the state of readiness between of the rail service before the commencement of operations. So according to the minister, the federal government has introduced a new system of purchasing tickets in which you'll be able to know who has purchased what. And that is a part of the increased security around the rail services. What would you say about this? Because it's been postponed. It's been postponed. But here we are again.
Okay, thank you, Shaka. So it's instructive to note that the minister did actually go physically to check the state of readiness of the Nigerian Railway Corporation in anticipation of the resumption of train services between Abuja and Kaduna. And as part of that service, as part of that visit, he did indicate that the planned resumption date had been postponed again, but he anticipated that it wouldn't last longer than a week. Now, part of the measures that have been put in place, like you rightly said, is the new system of purchasing tickets, which I think will help to properly identify people who buy tickets. Now, I'm sure there are other security measures that have been put in place or will be put in place that cannot readily be discussed in it. However, beyond ensuring a new system of purchasing tickets, we need to ensure, or they need to ensure, that whoever buys a ticket is actually the person that boards the train, because it's not inconceivable that one person buys a ticket, another person boards the train. Now, beyond that, between Abuja and Kaduna, there are a number of villages and numbers, at least in 2 states. I know one state, Niger. Now, from the reports of the last attack on that train service, they came from the forest or from the hills and approached the train tracks. So I want to believe, and I'm hoping that as part of the enhanced security measures, that in between both stations or in between the stations along that route, there will be enhanced security. And given what has happened before, we should be seen to have drawn or learned some lessons from that attack. Also, we do not know, we cannot speculate if there will be armed operators, if they will continue to have armed operators on the train. So there are a lot of questions, but it's good to see that for once they're not rushing to recommence the service, and they appear to be taking their time to do the proper thing. So fingers crossed. Let's see.
Oh, this was after the original backlash to the hurried, action of trying to resume the services. So yes, it's good that they're taking their time now.
So let's give them the benefit of the doubt, and let's hope that they actually do it properly.
All right. Now, Cheta, I feel like you had some thoughts on this because some people say good, but some others are asking why. From The Nation, federal government bans export of raw gold, but not just gold, also gemstones and other solid minerals. I'm going to take a quote from the Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Mr. Olamilekan Adegbite, who said yesterday at a news agency of Nigeria Forum in Abuja, and I quote, "You know what we do in the oil and gas sector. We export crude oil and import petroleum into the country. By that, we export all our jobs. I said we cannot make the same mistake with mining. So I started very early in 2019 to develop a policy called the Downstream Mineral Policy, in which, well, they've said no more exporting raw gold, raw gemstones, and other solid minerals." Just a good move? Bad move? Why move? Which one?
Terrible move that has already failed.
Why and why would you say that?
We've been here so many times before. All of this, see, one thing that is consistent in our history is whenever and it's not just Nigeria's history, Juche economics do not work. The evidence for that is so bloody overwhelming that I don't know why we keep doing it over and over again. It's annoying, it's depressing, it's infuriating. Just think it. Okay, let me calm down. As of 2021, last year, Nigeria was the 101st largest exporter of gold in the world. We're not in the top 100. We exported a total of $8.3 million worth of gold, just behind Venezuela on number 100, which did $8.7 million worth of gold. We're not on the league table. These niggas think that the world will notice us. Now, these figures are the legal exports.
Cheta,
These figures are, yes.
I'm going to stop you right there. And I'm also going to say this once more. Do you remember what platform you're on, please?
My apologies.
Thank you.
These are legal exports. Hmm? And there's, of course, a very high possibility that a lot more than the $8.3 million goes out illegally. Which brings us to what a sensible government will do. Rather than banning those legal exports which it can tax and generate revenue from, what it will do is it will make an effort to secure and enumerate the gold production areas so that they can control the trade and tax it. And it brings us back 2.5 years. If you remember, 2.5 years ago, in July 2020, there was a lot of fanfare over something called PAGMI, the Presidential Artisanal Gold Mining Initiative. And I remember saying this thing is not going to work. A lot of people focused on the fact that, I mean, at the end of the day, gold is gotten from mining, like oil. So with PAGMI, it was a scheme where states that are gold producing, and according to them, not just gold, but other solid minerals, the states that produce these things will get the lion's share of the money that was produced from that and all of that good stuff. And unfortunately, as is wont, a lot of the hue and cry in Nigeria was about the fact that, oh, what about oil producing states? The federal government has been taking the bulk of their revenue. One of the things that people should have looked at was, will this thing work? Which I did, and I said it won't work. And of course, as usual, I was called a naysayer, a hater, a whatever this thing. Iowa, 2.5 years later, rather than PAGMI working, we're talking of banning export of gold. When you have policies that are not well thought out, or when even worse than not well thought out policies, you lack the capacity or ability or will to enforce, we will always the result will always be depressingly the same. And all of these things just end up showing the non-existence or the retreat of the Nigerian state. That is what it is. They will still not be able to ban the gold. Fun fact, Nigeria in 2021 exported officially, what was that figure again? $8.7 million worth of gold. According to the OEC index, we had $718 million worth of gold enter Dubai in that same year. What I'm yet to query the figures, but what causes that huge disparity? If
one thing I want to ask you though, because there is so much of a focus and of course, as it should be, on the integration and the working together of public and private, and part of this policy is aimed at that, right? Because the minister said that, well, if you can't process it, why not sell it off to processors in Nigeria before then taking it out of Nigeria? Why would you think that wouldn't work if these are private processors?
That is gold ore. So you now have to ask the question, do we have the capacity to process? That is a very important question. Do we have the capacity to process? I'm sorry, I just checked again. It was $218 million worth of gold. That is $217 million worth of gold that it is claimed that we exported to Dubai. But officially, we exported $8.3 million.
That is quite a disparity.
It's quite a small disparity.
Okay, let's take a look at some of these messages that are coming in. MI from Makoka says, political structure of the establishment is simply a euphemism for thuggery, vote buying, voter suppression, rigging, and rented crowds. Take all of these out, and some so-called powerful politicians will be reduced to paper tigers. And Orov says, let's see. Orov says, okay, legalize arms and ammunition, and then we will see if their thuggery will work, because you can't take a knife to a gunfight. Wait, Orov, what are you trying to say here? When they come with their guns and cutlasses, the poor masses will scamper for safety. So let's have a level playing field. Oh, okay. And then we'll see that the thugs are actually in the minority. Corrupt? Free for all violence? Interesting. Fabian from Ekwe says, I do hope that there are cameras on the train in addition to security both in the train and along the routes. Security also needs to be beefed up on our federal highways, says Fabian, whilst Nee says they're focusing on threats that can be controlled and ignoring the main threat. They can search the people taking the trains. They also have armed policemen on board, but they mention nothing about bandits that can just show up from the middle of nowhere. Well, me hopefully we'll be getting more information on how the security will be beefed up. All right, so now moving on, we move on and let's take a look at what's happening with our doctors, or if our doctors are still here inside the country. So from the Vanguard, we've heard from the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, Mr. C, and this is what they have to say. 4,000 doctors migrating soon. It's now 1 to 10,000 patients when the World Health Organization recommends 1 to 600, one doctor to 600 patients, just putting those numbers side by side. Okay, so the association went on to say that this was really more an issue of remuneration, saying that when they conducted a survey of the doctors that were leaving and asked why they were leaving, that they said mostly it's because of remuneration. And they talked about a payment package that was agreed on in 2009, but here we are with no changes in 2022. Your thoughts?
Okay, thank you, Sope. So, first of all, this is a continuing trend. It didn't start today, it didn't start yesterday. Now, we've lost about 2,000 doctors in the past 2 years to various countries. Now, 4,000 are set to go. Now, it's no mystery or no secret as to why they want to leave. They want a better life for themselves. They want to work under better conditions. They want to receive a proper living wage that comes in when it should come in.
We all want that.
Yeah, but we're speaking specifically to the doctors.
I know. But I'm just saying, if that's the case, then, well, Jackpot syndrome is a thing, so, okay.
So, and we must state clearly that every human being has the right to choose where to work and how to work to a certain extent. So if I decide that I want to take my skills and services to another country, I should be free to do so. Now, having said that, over the past decade, we've all seen the various budgets that have been passed. We've all seen the various allocations that have been given to the health sector and how much was actually released. Now, the ideal ratio is a doctor to about 600 people. Currently, it's about a doctor to about 10,000 people. I suspect that it might even be that. Now, clearly, there's a brain drain. The Nigerian government has been in talks with the British government, particularly. I don't know why they've been in talks with them. I don't know what they're trying to achieve because, like I said, we can't stop anyone from migrating from taking his or her services elsewhere. Now, they embrace the points, the National Association of Resident Doctors, that the last time the wages were reviewed was in 2000. Listeners, that was 13 years ago. The agreement
highly different living conditions and
yes.
Naira to dollar conditions as well.
Fantastic. Now, the agreement was that that figure then will be reviewed in 5 years. That was 2014. That was 8 years ago. Nothing has been done. We are all witnesses to the fact that the current rate of the dollar is about 800. In 2009, it was probably somewhere between 100 and 150. I don't have the exact figure. And the president of this association did say that when he was a house officer, his salary in real terms then is a lot more than what he's currently earning as a senior registrar. So where are we going with this?
Nowhere.
Okay.
Wait, hold on, Cheta. Let's find out where we're taking Mr. C is taking us with this.
No, but I like what he said. We're actually going from all indications right now, we're going nowhere because
Mr. C, not that we're going to, which we are you talking about? Because the we that they're talking about is going somewhere and it's away from Nigeria.
So the we I'm referring to the government, the people in charge of policy, policy implementation, policy decisions. Now, you have an existential health crisis, right? What steps are you taking to resolve it?
So, question.
The president, when he has headache, he goes to London to drink Panadol. I don't know what you're talking about.
Now, hold on, gentlemen. Here's the thing, right? And it was something that I think, was it this association that had said earlier on? No, it was medical association. It was the NME. Said that at the rate we're going, that we'll be importing doctors into the country. But then again, if this is what other countries are doing, is it not a case of the level that you can provide to other doctors?
Imports.
Which is the point? Sorry, can I butt in here? And so my apologies, Mr. C. So in 2002, when I was still in Uniben, when I was rounding up in Uniben, there was visa lottery. And I remember this very clearly because myself and my siblings all applied. Now, for the record, I'm the only one of my father's children or let me rephrase, I'm the only one of my mother's children that did not study medicine because my father, being a medical person or somebody in the medical line, kind of insisted. It was a big quarrel. Now, there was an article there was something that was talked about on CNN, and I remember it very clearly because it was just before all of us applied for the visa lottery, the US diversity visa lottery back in 2002. And they talked about a potential shortage of doctors in the United States 15 years from then, because they were seeing signs that many people, when many of their citizens were no longer reading.
Oh no, Cheta, come back. You have to finish this. Oh gosh. Well, when we get him back, we will continue with that because that was an interesting one to do.
So whilst we're still waiting for Cheta to come back,
hold on, in 15 years, we have not.
So apart from that, where I was really going is this. The doctors who are leaving Nigeria constantly, at least in the last 2-3 years, are the experienced doctors. Yes, our Minister of Health continues to tell us that we induct 3,000 medical doctors each year into the health sector. But these are 3,000 new doctors with no experience. When the experienced doctors go away, they go away with the experience. You are then left with a lot of rookie doctors who are also trying to learn the ropes. Where does that leave you as a nation? And it's instructive that the president of the country, who is the symbol, who is the sovereign of this country, will travel out for routine, what is described as routine medical trips. He's not inspiring any confidence in the Nigerian Medical Association, and the doctors will then say, what's the point? Why remain in Nigeria if the person who should be encouraging us, who should be helping us get better as a sector, would rather travel abroad? Kudos to the vice president who had a surgical procedure done here, even though I understand that the team flew into the country, but it was done here. So we need to get serious. As a nation, collectively, we need to decide what we're taking serious in this life. Education and health, we need to take them a bit more seriously. We need to devote more funds to education and health, the healthcare sector, if this nation is truly going to realize its potential.
All right, Cheta, now that we've got you in, very quickly, you were in the middle of a story and I'm budgeting time for that. If we can get you on. Oh, all right. Well, let's take things over to the messages. And I'll read this one because Inka Bulu has asked you, Mr. C, says, okay, so Mr. C, looking for that, he says your point being, because since nothing appears to be done, let's just ship out all the doctors to the United Kingdom. He says, now what I think we should be talking about is, let us find out how much it costs to train a doctor in Nigeria compared to the same in the United Kingdom. We need to understand that this is where the federal government is coming from. I can't train you for next to nothing and then lose you to the UK. You have got to pay the true worth of medical education so we don't lose out on two fronts. Then we really need to have a conversation with the UK and the US because I see no reason for the Commonwealth or United Nations when you want to destroy mine, says Yinka Bolu. All right, Cheta, you're back on. Good to have you on.
Yeah.
So you're in the middle of a story, 2002, 15 years, CNN, America.
Where did I drop out? As in, okay.
I had noticed there was going to be a shortage in 15 years.
Yeah, and so that year When myself and my siblings all applied for the visa lottery, they all got it. I didn't get it. I was the engineer. They didn't have a shortage of engineers.
Hint,
Or I was a
hint.
prospective engineer. They didn't have a prospective shortage of engineers, but they had a prospective shortage of doctors. And suddenly, all the doctors that applied got it. I don't believe in coincidences. A witch flies in the night, a child dies in the morning. These people are deliberate. They saw a shortage and they took steps to rectify the shortage. That is what a deliberate nation does. In our own case, forget all this emotional noise about, oh, we trained you, this. That is emotional claptrap. We had a situation in this country where people years ago were already talking about this brain drain of doctors. What did the Minister of Health, Isaac Fawole, say that time? He said, and I quote, "My tailor is a doctor." What did the Minister of Labor say when this brain drain was brought to him, Chris Ngige? He said, who happens to be a doctor?
Yes.
Who happens to be a doctor? He said, they can go, they are not needed. His exact words. So the doctors heard this kind of statements from two ministers of the Federal Republic, and they took the message. And now we're turning around to complain. That's hypocrisy. Please let them go so that they can train their children properly.
Let me get this story from the Premium
if you have
Times.
Imagine if you're a doctor and then you are having to queue for how many hours? Do you know how many hours I spent in the fuel queue yesterday?
So very
and
quickly,
nobody from government is even talking about the fuel situation.
Let's
and then
talk about the fuel situation, Cheta. Let me talk about the fuel situation from the Premium Times. Real reason fuel scarcity persists across Nigeria, according to the Independent Petroleum Association of Nigeria, attributing the scarcity to the unavailability of petrol products and difficulty in accessing foreign exchange by markets. As Cheta, work with me here. Analyze this story.
Okay, I'm trying to calm down. Because
people,
there's no reason why
lack of petrol has
there's no reason why in 2022 I should be queuing for fuel for 3 hours and then gets to the top of the queue at the petrol station. Mr. C, let me rant, because yesterday I was queuing for fuel and I got to the top of the petrol station. As in just before, you know the way they will change the petrol station, and then those of us outside. And before I got to the point where I will enter the petrol station, they came out and said that there is no fuel again. Everybody go. Why will I not be angry?
Yes, but what do you have to say about what Ipman has come out with now? Because they're saying they're not hoarding, they just on
Friday here, the CBN governor essentially said at a financial inclusion clinical that there is no forex. He said it, and then the CBN Twitter account tweeted it and then deleted it, like if people will not catch the screenshots. There is no forex to buy fuel. So why don't you let people who can source this forex source it? Why this obsession with control? What we are seeing, all of these things are natural market reactions to the fact that we don't have control of anything. And instead of us to accept that reality, we are still trying to impose artificial controls, like this gold story.
Okay, Cheta, I'm just going to read this message from Laja, who says, sorry, don't be angry. Maybe you should jack and go and meet your siblings, because I'm not sure that Nigeria is working for you at this moment. But very quickly, I want to take more messages, right? This message, Emeka from Amua, worrying, says the resident doctor spokesperson is actually correct. A woman with fibroids I know was booked for her surgery in Lasu for February 2025. Yes, and the explanation was due to lack of manpower. She had no choice but to go to a private hospital to get it done. And Fabian from Ekpe says the doctor's migration is not only due to remuneration, but also due to better working conditions for themselves, as well as a good environment for their family. Unfortunately, with the migration of doctors and nurses, the burden is more on those left behind in the same dismal situation in the country. Thus, the migration will continue. It's an ever-growing vicious cycle. Dr. I at CMS says the preoccupation with only doctors migrating is weird. Well, they hold life and death in their hands, so you know. Nurses, pharmacists, IT engineers.
Can I say something, please? I bet no vex, because it's funny that he said the preoccupation with only doctors. I actually wrote an article on this yesterday because I was at a wedding in Satellite Town on Saturday, and I had a discussion with somebody who talked about a friend of mine that jackpot last May or March, sorry. When he jackpot, he left with his family. Their house help, their driver, their gateman all became jobless. According to the UK, 32,000, and it's just UK alone, 32,000 visas were given to Gikana Apoya, were given to
34,000.
34,000. Okay, so I even got the so 34,000 people, 34,000, and the people who are leaving are people who can afford nannies, stewards, drivers, guards. So imagine it's a single family that has, let's just take the baseline two, house help and guard. And then 34,000 of them left. That's 68,000 people left in dropped into the unemployment market. And we're not talking of these second and third order effects. These are people who are breadwinners. And then instead, the government people are coming to gaslight us.
All right, Cheta.
I'm not sure how we bend all of them's necks.
Thank you, Cheta. Moving on. And I'm gonna read the messages. Thank you. Okay, Dr. I at CMS, continuing on with his message, says, or her message actually, I'm not sure who Dr. I is, says the UK is not even the final or only destination of doctors. The drain will continue as long as the federal government fiddles while Rome burns. And that is all we have time for because of ranting. That's all, people. Thank you so much, Mr. C. You can find him at Monsieur C. There are 3 E's after his C up on Twitter and Instagram. You can find Cheta at Chickster, also up on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you very much. Actually, no, at Chickster_B on Instagram, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Either way, find both of them and continue the conversation with them. For all those whose messages I did not get a chance to read, my sincere apologies. You looked like you had so much to add to the conversation. Unfortunately, I couldn't get down to reading all of your messages. But for those I read, thank you for sending your messages in to all of you and for joining the conversation. Coming up 8:15, it's going to be time for sports inside the locker room.
It's got soul healing vibes.